social animals. They can't live alone.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another podcast. Today with one less Joey, who got in a car accident, so he's not here.
Oh no!
But it's okay because he upgraded into Jeremy here.
I've evolved. I've moved to the other side of the country. I've gotten some silly gloves. I have a kid. It's a very big change.
I see you took our chair with you though in the background.
This one
the
right
red
there,
one, yeah. That's the one we have. Before we get started, just want to do a quick thanks once again to our Patreon supporters who, especially if you're listening on to this on anything except for YouTube, it's because of Patreon helping out with that. And if you guys want to keep up with us, we're always active on our Discord, Facebook, and a lot of different avenues on the description. We like to interact with people. But so today
Patreon's good times.
Oh yeah. So today we'll be talking about mainly just the new set is about to come out, and so we'll be talking about our favorite cards from the next set, what we're looking forward to, different decks we might be thinking of. Ironically, what were you saying about the Oscar the last time we had Jeremy on?
Oh yeah, last time we had you on, one, I wasn't here, right? Two,
right.
It was a new set release as well.
The week before pre-release happened.
Yeah, because y'all guys hadn't seen the entire full spoilers yet, because it was going to be like the next couple of days, kind of like the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So, it's meant to be.
It's fate. Yeah. I get to make assumptions about what cards are good, and then get the whole set spoiled and be completely wrong. Awesome.
Hashtag Fox again. When everyone's like, Fox isn't that great, and then
hashtag never Fox. Hashtag Fox never left.
There's no good chimeras. Wait a minute. There's a chimera that brings in stones?
There's a reanimate chimera. You can play a chimera and reanimate a thing that you used to make that chimera. It's pretty good.
An invert card that when it inverts, you just win the game. You know, those kinds of things.
You win the game.
Sounds about right. Twice.
Yep.
2 times.
So let's go ahead and start with, so we basically got the whole set. Tonight's spoilers, we're recording this on Saturday night, was the first spoilers for constructed decks. So I think we're done with spoilers for the actual set until the full cards are released.
I believe so. I think we're getting it on Tuesday night, as usual, is when the full set will come out. So we'll have it at least before pre-release. So that'll be cool.
So we're not that far behind, so it's not too bad. So based on what we've got so far, obviously the random cards, sans the random cards. What are your guys' thoughts on this set? Let's limit it right now to Rhea Cluster. So we have Ancient Knights, Evan, Demon King, and now Time Spinning Witch. Your guys' opinion so far, how does this measure up to the other two? We'll start with Jeremy.
Okay, I think that as a whole, the power level of this set is pretty high. However, oddly enough, and I think we actually talked about this in the last podcast that I was on too, green does have a few really good power cards in this set. Like Rachel and Lorites particularly are very, very good. I don't think anyone's going to contest that. However, a majority of the other green cards that I've seen from this set have been kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
I noticed that, yeah.
But every other color has gotten these like really, really cool support cards. Like Shayla exists now. Like Kirik is getting a lot more support. We're getting the red, like the triple splash red dragon that just says if you have something to try to cheat in, we're just gonna kill it. Like every other color got something, which I think we talked about, like I said in the last podcast, where green was gonna still get something. All the other colors were going to get more than green got outside of those couple of somethings, and then it was going to slowly, like, even out. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing from this set. From all the stuff that I've seen, I feel like that's what I'm seeing from this set, and it makes me so excited. Ruler-wise, I really like Shayla, because I love tempo stuff. Like, I'm a tempo player, like... like that's my jam. Give me a tempo deck and I'll be like, I'm gonna play this for 8 hours. Let's go. Not even gonna be mad. What? We're grind it into a gauntlet. Let's go. Let's just go. And then Scheherazade I'm interested in because I think she's like the most control ruler we've had in a really long time. Like, because she's designed for it with her extra deck.
Very specific control.
like specifically control. Like, she is not designed to do anything else other than control by design. And I think I really like that, because also what I'm seeing from her is not, hey, she's going to be able to throw every single possible green card and suddenly she's green aggro. Like, I don't know. The coloring of her and the identity of her also makes me very excited to play that, like, pure, unadulterated control style list. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think that this set is doing exactly what I wanted it to do, outside of certain cards like Rachel and Lorite being green instead of blue. But, like, even being green, I'm okay with. I mean, I wish it was blue, but, like, I'm still kind of okay with it. And Rachel, like, I have to just accept that Rachel was a design thing that was made before the company made this new decision. So, like, I have to live with that. But outside of those two cards, I'm absolutely in love with this set.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. I feel like if, and this thing that with Ray Cluster in general, like, with each set, with the exception of Ancient Knights, actually, I feel like Ancient Knights, as far as, like, in my opinion, like, the star decks combined with the set and the power levels and all that was, like, how I personally would love to see the game go, as far as how cards interact. A huge amount of card interaction and power levels not being crazy off the roof. I think if it weren't, like you're saying, with this set, we saw the explosion of blue now. I think Keurig is going to come into his own finally, stuff like that. If it wasn't for things like, this is my I know there's a big debate about this, which one is which, but in my personal opinion, I think Otherworld is the bigger problem than Severing Winds. If it wasn't for things like Otherworld and Rachel, like, I feel like we could probably get away with the one cost. If without Rachel and Otherworld, I feel like we'd be almost pretty balanced across the color spectrum, which is pretty good. If it's only those two cards that are the biggest things, like, obviously there's other annoyances, but, like, on the whole, for a card game, that isn't too big of a power difference between the colors. So, but this set, like I said, Ancient Knights is probably still my favorite, but this one has just because of these, the two things that I'm excited for is our great Pig God, that make that combined with the other red cards and making Keurig great. That combined with the Piggy Overlord. that literally made me. I've been. If you guys go back and watch, I think I did one of the first sport, or was it Joy? I forget. But when the first Hoel Pig was shown, I think I was the biggest fan of it. So I'm glad to see that's being paid off for me. But that and the inversion mechanic. I love the inversion mechanic. So those two things make it. This set is really, I like it more than 80K for sure. For nothing else, then even everything else aside, I just love, for something about the inversion mechanic I really like. Like, I've already typed out my deck list for it.
buy some inner sleeves. Protect your cards.
Yes.
Buy some perfect fits.
I will have to, for that at least, I'll have to go back to you. Because we were talking about using I'm going to use Dragon Shield mats. For that, I'll have to go back to my Ultra Pro clips, because they're the only sleeves I know that are you 100% cannot see through the back. So,
well, I'm talking about to protect the cards.
Oh yeah, no, that too. Yeah, no.
Oscar, what about you? What do you think about
Colin,
this
give me
set?
some time to talk. I like this set. I don't know if I liked it as much as the previous set. I really enjoyed Advent of the Demon King. Like, as y'all were talking, I'm just sitting here scrolling through each of these sets, and I don't know. I feel like so many good cards came out Advent of the Demon King. They're being used for almost every color, not just one specific. Maybe not so much white, but all the other colors besides that one. And while this new one looks...
We need Golem love.
Yeah. I was going to say that. As while this new one looks cool, like, Haven't seen any Golem support yet, and I'm not. Why I've never played Golem is only because I never saw anything that really made them slightly more efficient than just throwing them down and trying to mobilize them and such like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They needed to make mobilize and activate ability.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing
Because then you
holding
could,
it back.
because then you could at upkeep, mobilize, recover, then go.
Yeah.
That would have made golems way better.
Yeah, at least playable.
But I mean, stuff I'm excited about the new set is definitely the invert cards and a lot of the blue stuff. Like, I definitely want to go ahead and put together a Shayla deck, even though I don't know what her backside does yet. You know. So.
Yeah. I think I think blue is still. Finally,
I also want to take advantage of Rachel in a Lumia deck, and just
Before it gets banned.
Yeah, before something happens, and just to troll around with it.
Lumia Rachel command.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, that, and I'm interested in Scheherazade to see how this extra deck's going to work out. I was telling Colin because we're going to kind of do like these deck profiles kind of leading up to this, or when it comes out. For each of them, and I have Scheherazade, and it was only $2. I was like, that's all we have so far, $2, and she works with dolls apparently well because she gives them quick cast, but that's all we have so far.
Do we really only have 2? Yeah, we have the big effigy and the 3-drop.
Yep. So
it's going to be like Fox. We're going to have like 80 uncommon dolls that are going to be like gods.
There you go.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That's how we break her.
We'll see where she goes. That's where I'm at on the whole set.
Assuming Lumia gets banned, I'm pretty excited because Sans.
I don't think Lumia gets banned.
I don't think so either.
We can talk about the ban list. I'm not going to get into the ban list unless you want to actually talk about the ban list. But
the side point I get into is like, because I'm not a big fan of playing Lumia personally. Nothing to do with anything. It's just not my cup of tea. But one thing I've always wanted to do, and I thought they were going for it for a moment in Lapis Cluster with Gil, was a deck that makes your opponent deck out. There's things like that in Pokemon and things like that
deck.
in mill deck. Another card I forget. And I don't know why. Something about those I find like super fun, and they're kind of going that way with Gil, not quite. And I was like, man,
guarantee you that's how they intended her to be.
Yeah,
guarantee you.
And I don't know if the problem is, see, if she was black, I don't know if that would fix the Lumia problem. I mean, it would at least stutter it a bit, but...
I mean, looking at current builds of... Some people are talking about Lumia, it's like green-black.
Is it?
Yeah, I played against one the other day. They cut blue for black, so they have access to Final Battle, because against green-black Fairer, which we have to admit is the other major dominant deck of the format, if Lumia can't land a Lumia, and Fairer like gets a flip and gets a green-black and gets like a 4-drop Fairer out, like that's actually really bad, because like Lumia outside of Moasaurus, right, like has pretty much no way to deal with Fairer, and it's just like here's 10, here's 10, here's 10. Like I was playing it the other day, and I landed a Fairer flip turn 2 against Lumia, like because I was on draw, so I had like turn 1. So turn 1, I had energized to stop his turn 1, and then I was like, Spirit Collar Elf. I knew he didn't have the Severing because of the way the trade happened in his first turn. So it was like Spirit Collar Elf into Sacred Elf, and then next turn I just flipped, and I was just like, oh, okay, here's my Fair Ruler. I have 1 stone. Here's my Fair Ruler. Here's my Fair Resonator. Okay. Like I don't care about casting cards now. I'm just gonna beat your face in. And the blue struggles with that a lot because like they really have a hard time just dealing with that big creatures that are more than 2 drops, right? Because Spirit Trueblade is like their 1 removal source. So like if you get a Fairer out super early, they're like, well, this sucks. So they went black, so they have access to like Final Battle and Heteroclite and Nameless, to be able to help in that matchup a little bit better.
Yeah.
So out of the so we're talking about Lumia and stuff, but out of these, so we have Imul, Scheherazade, and Crimson person.
Right.
So
Scarlet.
do you think? Yeah. Out of those three, do you think any of them have a chance at a competitive level at this point in time, or do you think it's going to take another set for them to reach the levels of possible top 8s and things like that?
I think that... See, it's weird, because, like, Scarlet, I think, can be very good. I haven't seen enough of their stuff yet, to be perfectly honest, to, like, tell where I think they fall in a competitive meta. Also because the ban list greatly changes. So, like, if a bunch of green cards get hit, right, then Scheherazade automatically gets weaker.
Yeah.
By herself. Right, so that automatically comes her out. Scarlet, right, the rest of her null cards could be garbage.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
that's right, null.
We've seen from other card games that have decks that don't like having hands, that, like, that style of deck can be competitively successful, right? And, like, outside of Burn to Cinders, there's, like, no way to kill her, right?
Yeah.
She's just always going to be there. But, like, I don't know enough about her null mechanic and what it brings to the table to be like, yep, let's go. Like, there's enough to make a deck out of this. It's the same with Inverse. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some dope Inverse cards. Like, the 2-drop that turns into a 4-drop kill anything spell, like, whew, that card is great. Like, even like Mephistopheles, where he's just like, okay, your stuff doesn't trigger on enter, or okay, your stuff comes in tapped. Like, those are great. But I don't know enough about Inverse yet to be like, this is a mechanic that I think can succeed. So I haven't seen enough of those 3 rulers yet. I also think that of the 3, the most meta dependent is Scarlet. Because I think that, like, Scarlet has a lot of tools that if she's walking into a meta that's just ready, that just, like, is fine with her having no cards, then, like, she's gonna be in trouble. But if she walks into a meta that's nothing but tree, she just goes, oh, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! That's why I actually think that Scarlet is probably better suited as a sideboard ruler, and I think
That's
that
true.
she was really well. I think she was really well designed for that fact, from the fact that she herself has a discard engine. Right, so, like, you can play Scarlet. You can have Scarlet sitting in your board if you're playing a darkness or a fire deck, dark fire deck, and go, okay, cool. I'm playing against Dark Tree. I'm just gonna sideboard into her on game 2, and then just never hit them until I flip Scarlet and wreck their face. Ta-da! Because they're playing with a 60-card deck, right? So if I never hit them until I flip and Scarlet's there to push their face in, cool.
That's a good point.
Like, because, like, Scarlet herself doesn't even have to be the one who's hitting them to prevent the damage. Like, I can just be starting to stick creatures on board against Dark Tree, and I can be like, would you like to play Final Battle knowing that I have Scarlet, or would you like to wait until I flip Scarlet and kill you? Like, that's not a good spot for Tree to be in when it has a gigantic deck. Scheherazade obviously is designed to be an anti-meta deck. Like, the existence of the existence of the extra deck and being able to pull cards out of your sideboard, and her stories being very meta specific, she's designed to be that. So that's pretty cool. But as an anti-meta deck, you're naturally set up to not necessarily be meta, because you're trying to beat the meta. You're a counter deck. So there's that. And again, I haven't seen enough Inverse to know where she's gonna fall.
Do you think that they will print a limited number of the stories for Scheherazade? Because there's only 5 right now, which is what she would run in her extra deck.
So in my opinion, let's see. So story-wise, we have the draw story, the flip story, the anti-mermaid story, the anti-panda story, and then there's one other one, the killer resonator story. I mean, those are the 5. So I imagine that we see an anti-strength counter story.
Yeah.
I imagine that we see an anti-elf story. And I imagine that we see an anti-elemental story. At minimum. Because I think Scheherazade is honestly probably one of the most lore-dependent rulers we've ever had. Right? So, like, I think we just have to think that she's going to have stories based on the lore, and we know that she's in a timeline that has elves, has the elementals, and has strength counters. So she's just going to try to wreck those.
Yeah.
It'd be great if there was an anti-golem spell, just to add
Really,
insult
really
to
hard counter.
Just really grind it in there.
an extra 2
No,
to
it's
mobilize
a story that says all your
golems.
opponent's golems are mobilized. No. It's just that it wants to help golems. It's just like, you know what?
It's
I feel
like-
really bad. All your golems are mobilized for the turn.
It's a side deck when you go against a
swing
golem
at
deck
me.
and you feel bad. Oh man.
You do it on you cast it on a turn that you're not going to attack them, so you're just like, oh, you've got like 12 golems on my turn. Cool, mobilize, pass.
It's like the third Hobbit movie where it's like the battle of the 5 armies, but one of the armies is just like villagers who happen to have swords. It's like, yeah, you're one of the armies. Don't worry, we'll call you one of the armies. It's cool.
Yeah, you got it. You got it, guys.
So-
Oscar, what about you? I want to know what you think about these.
Oh
five
yeah, that's what I
rulers.
was gonna ask.
About the stories?
Or no, about the stories and about like which ruler you think can sit competitively.
So, I think out of the rulers, the ones I thought that would, I guess, do anything would be Scheherazade, just because she is green. She has all the ability to use all these cool green cards that have been doing so well already and just naturally use them without having to worry about color correction. So, I want to see more stories, but I was afraid that it would be like a Chimera thing where it's like, cool, they printed 3 Chimeras, they're not going to do any more. You know, print 5 stories, aren't going to do any more. My only thing looking at it right now is, yes, there's 5 stories, but do you run all 5 stories right now? You know, do you only run like 2 or 3 or 4 of them? And in doing that, you lose access to her flip and gaining maximum, you know, advantage of that flip for the full 5 costs. So I want it to be her, but then when you look at that situation, I also don't feel like it's going to be her because.
That's true.
Also, I'm really wondering like how this side extra deck works. I keep calling it a different name. Like, are you able to side stuff into it? Like, if there's in the future 8 total stories, and in there I have like maybe 1 anti-panda deck ruler or a side card because there's big meta push for pandas later. But I'm like, oh wait, I go into a Keurig match and there's a Keurig story, but I wish that was in there. But I was planning this way. Like, I wonder how that's gonna work.
I think it's that you start with from what I've been told, or from what I can like infer, you have your 40 card main, you have a 5 card extra that you always start game 1 with, so like that has to be decided as you go into a tournament, like your first 5. But then in between games, cards from your sideboard can be swapped into your extra deck. So like then your sideboard, your 15, can replace cards in your extra deck or in your side deck, or in your main deck. And if that's the case, then I think that's exactly how she needs to be designed, right? Because you have to, that initial meta call has to be there, like that initial meta call for Scheherazade. Because you could totally miscall the meta. I'd be like, well, 3 of my stories are garbage.
There you go.
Let's go. But at the same time, at least you're not like permanently locked out, which I think would really suck for Scheherazade. I would agree with you there that she's probably like not playable at that point.
But in the end, I feel like she has the most hope for me. I feel it's not there, but I do feel like a lot of the stuff we're seeing is supporting older rulers, which is what people have wanted for so long. I remember in Alice Cluster, people were like, oh, I can't use my Dark Alice deck anymore. It's not relevant. And people kept, hey, can you please support old rulers? Please support old rulers. And they're finally doing it, and people are like, why are you supporting old rulers? Why, you know, it's just this. It's just
Can't please anybody.
No, I like your thing, your point of like the red ruler probably might not be a big theme, but it'll be a big sideboard theme. That's a good point for something like that. Scheherazade, yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know about Scheherazade. I think Imu's going to be great. Imu's great.
I want her to be.
I just
You
want.
kidding me? I want Imul to make it to a top 8 and win a GP and just be like, I turned my cards upside down. Ah!
Yeah, I just want to see that.
It's-
Like, they judgment, and then we go from a white deck to a black deck. And I was telling
great.
I want
Colin,
to see
it'd
them
be
take
great.
the time. They have like 20 cards on field, and they have to
Yeah,
take
you
the
gotta
time on sleep.
That's what I was
before.
telling Colin. It'd be great. They
It's not slow. It's not slow play. I promise. It's not slow play.
They create some counter to it. Or flip those back. So you have to go flip them all back.
If the story counters that, oh my god. And they wait to play it just on purpose.
Uninverse all your inverses.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
I think Aimu will be really good or pretty good at the local level. I think is where it's going to shine. It has the fun factor. It still has competitive edge to it. I feel like it's way too the whole like thing of how it works is too easy to counter at this point in time for it to be good at the competitive level in this format we're in. But it has, with the exception of the chance they get removed from game, that's a cool thing that you can't really. I don't know. I'm waiting for the CR.
Because if you don't resolve, they don't flip.
Well, in the sense of like having access to more than one chant off of one card is
Right,
a
but if they
useful
cancel
feature.
the first chant, you don't get the second chant.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But
Which is like,
there's ways to fix.
oh yeah,
around
I
that,
definitely
but,
think that it's
Yeah.
really cool, and I think that there's ways to get around it.
Yeah. No,
It's
it'll be interesting to see. It definitely for a competitive edge that needs something, but I'm gonna be playing it.
Yeah, that's his ruler he's working on.
Sure.
So, question on the subject of the whole inverse thing: has it always been a rule that sleeves can't be transparent? Did it not just stop because we didn't have shift cards for the longest time, so people could use any sleeves, or has it always been a rule
So I
even
think-
competitively? Because obviously we're going back.
I think
to that now.
so. I think so. Primarily because it was enforced because of the old way that ruler reveals worked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, ruler reveals, you couldn't have a translucent sleeve because then you'd be showing your opponent your ruler before you started playing. I don't think it's necessarily in the CR or the floor rules anywhere. I think it's just, like, good not wanting your opponent to know your information etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know what? In fact, I know for a fact it's not a rule. It's just players trying to be smart. Because I remember that there was an event that I played in where I sat down. It was a competitive. I sat down at a competitive event, and I was like shuffling up, and we put our rulers face down or whatever, and I set it my deck in front of him to like cut, and then like he set his ruler down, and I could kind of see through it, and I was just like, oh, that's Blazer. like I knew, like, it was translucent enough, and like he obviously was allowed to use that sleeve, but like he was just now giving me that and sure enough, he flipped his ruler up, and I was like, oh sweet, that's Blazer. Yep. Yeah. knew what that was.
I would think it would be a requirement though. Like if I had an inverse card in my deck in slightly transparent sleeves, you can see through them, and I could see the next card was going to be inverse. You know, you could probably try to fix it to where I don't want to draw that next. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this trick where I search. Okay, now I'm gonna shuffle my deck, and I avoided it.
Yeah, I think with inverses now, and like when shift cards came about, I think it's probably gonna be that you have to have like matte sleeves. Yeah. Because it provides you with additional information, right? This was actually a weird problem that happened. It was pretty uncommon, but actually with Vingolf 1, with the orange borders, and also with Millennia of Ages with the orange borders, if you had white sleeves, you could find your orange bordered cards just by looking at your deck.
That's crazy.
So like when you set them, like when you set the deck down, so like if I had my buddy Tyler Norris and I did an experiment with this where we took 4 Hanzos and we shuffled them into a deck of nothing, and they were the only orange borders, and we sat it down and we went cut it at the Hanzos. We could do it 100% of the time. We could find, because the white reflected just enough the orange that you could tell where it was in the deck. Like,
Nice.
Yeah. I know
Yeah, so
Pokemon had a thing like that.
yeah, so like I think with shifts and with inverses, I think now you have to have like matte, so you can't see
Matty
it.
Matt. Well, because like I was saying, like even stuff like Matt Dragon Shield, you can like see through enough. Like I said, the only card I've ever or sleeve I've come across was the Eclipse that were complete, can't see through at
But yeah,
all,
it's
0%.
black on one side. I mean, you
Or
can always,
ultimate guard.
or
it's
smoke
yeah.
under sleeves.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're playing inverse, you need to be wearing, you need to be using inner sleeves anyway. So
yeah.
so that you
No.
don't ruin your cards on your whole deck, not just the inverses. Don't stack your deck, people. It's marked cards. Don't do that.
So before, just in case we need extra time for it, in case some people get passionate, we'll go ahead and go through what some of our what our favorite card that we've seen so far. Disclaimer again, is from the set, and sort of why. Not necessarily the strongest card from the set, because then we'd all pick Rachel. But the
Would we?
I don't think I'd pick Rachel.
but like
Honestly, don't
just,
think I'd pick Rachel. But
yeah, but like just a personal favorite. So yeah.
yeah, for sure. I pick Oscar to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'm torn, and I'm looking at them right now. I'm between two. They happen to be SRs, and they are the blue SRs. So Rebellious Soul, IU, and Giga Thunderfish are the ones I'm between. Just first of all, IU's because you're gonna say something.
Oh no, I was just agreeing that I forgot about the soul.
Yeah, I mean, one, she's a soul, so you can throw her in an IU deck if you need to, and two, just that copying a J ruler and becoming it, and just having that in your field, and it's just neat to me. That's kind of why I picked her.
As a cool mechanic.
In before you copy Lumia, she's the only resonator left on the field, and you have to flicker yourself.
Yep.
Well, that was a good copy. We did it.
That was fun.
I keep forgetting about that card. That's such a. Obviously, I feel like that mechanic's stronger at this point in time. Is stronger in Wanderer format, but it's such a cool mechanic idea.
I just want to see somebody do something cool with it, where it's like you said, copy a Lumia J ruler, and just I don't know, do something.
Yeah,
like
I for sure. I definitely think that she's a really, really cool card, and you stole Mega Thunderfish for me, so I'll pick a couple other ones. But like Mega Thunderfish or Giga Thunderfish, sorry.
Yeah, no,
like
that's his
the
little
fact
brother.
the fact that he just locks down everything. Like I said before, I'm a tempo player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that card is like the epitome of tempo. Like it goes, I land it, I get two other creatures with it. I'm gonna swing, I'm gonna lock your entire board down. Like. Because it locks J rulers too, which means that they can't even call stone, which is awesome. Like,
yeah, no, that
I want to build a Thunderfish deck.
Yeah, there are ways outside of black. There are blue ways to cheat it in already right now.
Yeah, there are.
Imagine having. Now I got. Oh, hold on.
Imagine him locking everything
down.
Mosasaurus coming in to lock down the stones.
Oh, jeez. Just complete.
Let's play Bluefish Lockdown. Let's go, Oscar. You and me. We're gonna build it.
There we go.
We're gonna collab on it. We're just gonna make it so like we're gonna tell our opponent, don't play any cards until turn 7, please. I'd like to stop you from playing the game.
Gosh,
imagine be fun.
Imagine playing having enough will to play the one that bounces all resonators, and you put up to 3 water into the field and playing down 3 Giga Thunderfish and searching out 3 Mega Thunderfish.
Well,
and
I'm gonna go grab my Mercurius now. Thank you.
Because there's ways to make it rain and have thunder without having Sheila as your ruler.
Yeah,
there's a lot. That's actually really
that's
cool.
it. We're building Mercurius. Rise from the depths, Thunderfish boys. Let's go.
You see the next energy topping it.
I like
it. Is.
No, I'm excited to see. I want to see someone make decks like this. I want to see someone make a blue deck and the only green they have is Severin Winds, and see if they can completely shut. I think it's possible now to get at least pretty close to shutting down and just playing around the cancels at this point with power levels.
I think
we're close to that point.
My favorite cards of this set so far is 1 blue and 1 red. So my favorite blue card, outside of Giga Thunderfish because Oscar stole it, is Thunderwave.
Oh, yeah,
which is the 1-drop, the 2-drop, 1 blue, 1 colorless, quick cast chant that bounces anything back to its owner's hand. That's not a Magic Stone or an addition. And if the weather is thunderstorm, you draw 2 cards.
That's great.
Please. I would like to go +3 for 2 will at instant speed. Thank you. Like,
yeah, and it's a quick cast.
and it hits anything. It hits anything. Additions, any costed resonator, regardless of stats. Like, I just want it.
If it was a 2-cost quick cast, draw 2 cards, that's still a good card. And it's like, oh, by the way, you bounce something.
Yeah. Even if it was just quick cast, draw 2, like, I'd still like it. But it's also I get a bounce up thing. And then my other one is definitely Ultra Dragon Shooting Star. DM073 stands for Dragon Master 073 when I was really young and had a need for a nerdy YouTube name. But it sticks. And this guy is amazing. I just like I think that he was perfectly designed for not only our meta, but like just for meta in general, right? So he's not splashable by any means because he's triple red, right? So like you have to be playing a red core deck to be able to play this guy, which is great. And then he's got protection from the things that are the colors of the deck that he's designed to stop, right?
Yeah.
So like black and blue are the reanimate colors, and he has protection from black and blue, and he's designed to stop reanimating and cheating, which are black and blue. So like, and it's not even like casual killing. Like, doesn't target. Here's 2 grand of damage.
That two themes on it. One, it's also one of my favorite artwork in this set. I'm a sucker for dragon artwork.
You should get the alt art.
The alt art?
Yeah, the alt art that has my gloves on it. a friend of mine made me a picture, used Photoshop and made a picture of for
That's
Dragon
awesome.
wearing the gloves, and I was like, yes.
But just his base, 3-cost 1,000 flying with Barry against blue and black. That alone, effect aside, is something that red needed. It needed a lower cost, pure red theme that is a power theme that can stay on the field and not be destroyed super easily. And so, effect aside, this card is just something that I feel red really needs in order to, because red is supposed to be these big themes that swing in and all that stuff like that, I feel like. And so it's nice to start having that. I feel like we're starting to dip back into that again.
Yeah, and he's got a cost. And he's got a cost to him, right? So like if they do manage to kill him, or if you're not very smart about it and you play him at the wrong time, then you also have to discard a card at random. So
yeah,
like,
the random.
Not playing him smartly could be punishing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like this, I think he is the epitome of a well thought out, well designed card overall, right? Not splashable, good stat line, good effect regardless of stat line, but like a cost for such good on one card. Like, yeah, I think that's just all of that packaged together. I think designs a really, really good card. So
yeah, it doesn't feel unfair or powerful. Like, it's like, oh man, now I can't. Your opponent at worst could say, well, now I can't cheat in my super strong card as easily. It's like that feels like it's like me. I miss not necessarily Hook, although I miss Hook. Hook Lumia hurt Hook. Outside of Lumia, I felt Hook was necessary. That and Split Heaven, because it adds a cost to running these free dual stones. Otherwise, there's no reason not to run a special magic stone for all 10 stones, even if you
can leave with Split. You can just walk away with Split Heaven there.
It's my fit. I just got my Split Chans in the mail last week. I'm so excited. Make my Wanderer deck.
But are they Japanese?
They could be if I scribble on it.
That's true. Good answer. Good answer, Colin.
No, that's but I feel like it's always good to have super strong combos are fine, or strong mechanics like dual stones, as long as there's a theme to counter it. So it's cool to have things that cheat in. Cheating in is like adds a lot of cool combos. Like Oscar and I were testing with what's his face's Welser OTK deck, and which involves cheating, and that makes it super fun. But it's also good to have some type of counter to it to make people wary of those types of strong combos.
Yeah, it's like it's like Jeff said. Like, you can have really cool cards, but you need to have the answers to those cards in the same set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this set does that a lot, like really, really well, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
playing against a Mega Thunderfish deck, Ultra Dragon's gonna probably wreck that. Like, play Giga Thunderfish, cool. Your tiny fishes are gonna die. You know, like, it's all
You're
about
a very
these, like,
lonely
checks and
fish.
balances,
Yeah.
you know.
Since you guys did 2 cards, I'm gonna do 2 cards.
Do it!
Do
3 cards, Colin. Let's go.
I'll do it. I swear to God. The first one is obvious. Is my Lord and Savior Piggy, Hoyle's greatest hero pig. He, because I like Keurig. I like even not know it. Well, especially now with his unsealed ability. I don't even know what his Jailbreaker side, but I already love him more. But even before that, I really liked the idea behind Keurig and the amount of burning. And so now we have a Beast. Beast is super important in a Keurig deck because of fast food. Makes fast food a god for Keurig. And so we have that with decent average stats for a 2 cost. But having it so that it comes in, puts 2 strength counters on Jerry, they're not a big deal. But having ways to use those strength counters is really important, especially for things like limited. As you guys saw when we did the GP, the reason people, and I talked about this, is I feel like the reason people aren't running the strength counter decks is because there's a lot of giving you strength counters, but not a lot of using those strength counters inside of limited format. And so this gives you a way not only to gain strength counters, but also ways to use them, giving things swiftness, giving things flying inside of
And
red
it's
deck.
only resonators. And it's
Yeah.
only resonators, which again is well balanced.
Yeah, if it was J resonators, then all of a sudden this is no longer in a Keurig deck. This is in other decks as well. But because it gives you those 2 strength counters that you can automatically use for it. Mm-hmm. So having a way to spend them inside of a limited format is good, and having now a use, because like if you guys remember the games I did with Oscar, where each game I flipped with a minimum of 35 counters, 40 counters, etc. And it wasn't necessarily because I was waiting to flip and burn them all. Well, maybe I was one of the games, but it is because there's not a whole lot of use for them outside of just burning stuff. And if there's nothing to burn, you're just sitting there. And this gives you a way to use them without just burning stuff. Now you can actually have it as a utility for Resonator. So I just really like this card.
I think, yeah, for sure.
Second card is an inverse card, which is Grim of the Crimson Moon. The reason I like this, the front side's kind of cool. Enters in with counters for fairy tales that you have in your hand. So halfway decent. I'll put it in my Millium deck or something like that as well. But it has flying and has barrier against light and black, which is really important now, especially with we have more destruction with black and things like that. Whenever it attacks, you get 2 mystery counters, so this can also be slotted in other decks besides just the inverse deck. I feel like this card also, like,
He's a vampire too, right?
Yeah, that's 4 decks off the top of my head that it slots in if you wanted it to. And whenever you do Judgment of the Ruler, that's when you flip it. And the flip side is what I really like. So it has, once again, flying and barrier. It's 1,000, but it destroys anything that's not a magic stone. And if that thing has imperishable, and the subtext of this card cannot be destroyed, it loses that, and then you destroy it. And cards in your opponent's graveyard lose all abilities. So we have a way to kill Fox, for example.
Yep.
We can now officially easily kill Fox. Not easily,
Ayu.
but Ayu.
We don't need to, though.
We can kill Book of Light. We can kill that. That was going to be a big problem pretty soon. We can.
That Book of Light.
I'm trying. I forget at the top of my head other things that say can't be destroyed. Random things in Machine Deck, the 2000 that can't be destroyed. Now it can be destroyed. I don't know. Just like the thought of if it's on the field, it's dead. It doesn't matter unless it has barrier. Is really cool. And then things in your opponent's graveyard losing all abilities is really strong, especially with a lot of things that are happening with cards that have effects inside of the graveyard. So
Yep.
I'm just really digging that flip side.
Good stuff.
So I have a couple questions with this new set that we have now, and I'm gonna ask the first one. And I feel like this is like a shorter one. Now that we're getting like let's say Wander support, it's more in the form of a ban list. It'd be cool to see more Wander support in the form of like old types being printed. Like say, here's one new machine. It's a void.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like cool. Now in my Wanderer deck, I can kind of throw that in instead. Like I'm talking about like that kind of thing. Like that would be cool to see. I don't know.
Like
if that's,
printing new cards.
So what is your question?
what y'all's opinion on that? Kind of like.
Oh, yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, I would like to see. I'd like to see stealth be fixed and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
Stealth inherently, for the longest time. I don't know. Were you guys playing back in stealth era?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was all Oscar.
That was like stealth was broken.
Mm-hmm.
It was a broken mechanic. So like if stealth were to come back, I want to see it fixed first. But like stealth would be really cool to come back. I'd really like to see I don't know, maybe some like Sacred Beast support, like because like Ascended Prisia existed, and then like all the Sacred Beasts were gone.
Yeah.
And you're like, that was really cool. Or like fairies could come back, and I'd be okay with it. Like
Stuff like that would be
there's
cool.
a lot of
Yeah.
I would just like, I mean, like even just with 150 card sets, right? Like you could throw in like 5 that you're like, these are geared towards Wanderer or limited. Like you're not gonna play them competitively.
Yeah.
Outside of those formats. But here you go.
It's kind of what I was
Like,
saying. You know, like it could be
that'd
like
be pretty cool.
this elf, but it's like / fairy or something like that. It's like so
Yeah,
technically it could
I
fall
would be
back.
down with that.
Yeah.
I'd be down with it. I want to see standby spells come back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What I'd said,
missed them.
it was unfortunate we ran out of time when talking to Jeff during our interview. I asked this in the live stream. There was a lot of questions going off on there. But what I think they should do now that with it feels like either they don't know what to do with it or they're sort of reevaluating what they're doing with Vingolf. And my idea was, what if they did a Vingolf that was just Wander? It's just a Wander Vingolf. All the cards are only legal in Wander as a giant balancing thing. So you have all these cards that sort of balance out with an addition of ban list, and it brings in old cards, new cards, and it's also a gateway to people who want to get into Wander, but there's thousands of cards. It's too much to do. So you have the 5 set Wander rulers with the set sort of generic deck. So it's an easy gateway, but also a way to bring up, you can include a bunch of Sacred Beasts, you can introduce back in stealth and machines without being nothing crazy, but just like a huge flood into Wander to flood life into old cards that aren't being reprinted.
I think that'd be dope. I need to see how Providence does first. I think the weirdness of Wanderer right now, like even regardless of like the inherent brokenness of Wanderer, right? Is there is a lot of talk of interest in Wanderer, but how much of that is actual action and not just talk?
Yeah.
Right? So like I would be it's super great that the company is like saying like we're going to support Wanderer more and we're actually doing it and we're seeing that more. Like I think if anyone can attest, Jeff has already clearly had an impact and is making that positive steps forward, right? So like with the ban list that's probably dropping next week for Wanderer, we get to see that more like clear vision coming to life.
9 cards.
Now it becomes balls in the player's court, right? So now this is the company saying, okay, we heard you, we got what you wanted, we did the work, here you go. We gave you what you want. Now you have to do something with it. And I think that if people don't put their money where their mouth is about like enjoying and wanting to try and play Wanderer, then the company has no reason to invest time into it. And that's a product that like that product, specifically cards just for Wanderer, could be a massive flop. So like they don't, simply because people don't want to play Wanderer, or like they're like, yeah, but I'm not gonna spend $40 on a thing that I can play 1 tournament a year in, like on the other side of the country. You know, like don't get me wrong, I'd buy it. So I'd be like, yeah, let's go, more cards.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't necessarily think that you have to make that Vingolf just for Wanderer, but I think you can use like a revitalizing of old archetypes that are still New Frontiers viable, like New Frontiers playable, but you can tell that these are designed to boost Wanderer more. Like, still make them New Frontiers legal, but like it's all nothing but old archetypes. So you're like, well, I mean, I guess you could play a new 4 Sacred Beasts deck with 2 new Sacred Beasts if you really wanted to, but you're not going to. You know, like that kind of thing.
That's a good point of like, the company could also just be weighting it as a sort of a testing the waters type thing. So right now, they're doing the ban list. That costs nothing to them. That's an easy way to go out there. Bounces out. They have they substituting the willpower rewards with the Wanderer Cheshire Cat, and then they have one Wanderer GP. So a combination of those 3 things is almost no skin off their back, and a super across the board easy way to gauge interest and Wanderer. Like, check the attendance of the Providence, check how many people are interested in signing up to try and get that Cheshire Cat, check how locals do after this ban list enacts, and get back to it. And yeah, if there's no improvement, then yeah, it'd be sad, because the amount of cool stuff that is possible in Wanderer once the broken stuff is fixed, I think is really exciting. Especially if there's GP support, that'd be such a cool thing. But yeah, I'd be curious if it is successful. Also, what Wanderer would look like next year.
Yeah, it's all kind of like, I'm trying not to look too far ahead. I'm trying to focus on what I can do now, but I know that the company is setting themselves up in such a way that if this year like sticks, right, then I think then we just like take off.
Yeah.
Does that feel right? Like, they're still trying to set the foundation of like the new era, right? But if what they're doing clicks and works, like, I honestly think that we're on a serious uptick. And I think we're already starting to see that in the Facebook communities, right? Like, we're already seeing I think every day I see at least 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 of like, hey, I'm new to the game, what should I do? Or like, hey, our community's starting to grow back up in this area. Or like, hey, I'm really excited to hear about all these new spoilers. Like, people are slowly starting to come back. Like, our old players who have left are being like, oh wait, okay, I might come back. I'm interested.
Oscar has an interaction like that.
Yeah, we are. So this is the pitch too for anybody who's still here. ARG states are this weekend, so if you're gonna have one in your state, make sure to look out for it and you can attend them. We're gonna have one in Central Texas in Austin, and as it was posted by the store itself, somebody came through and commented on that event, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Force of Will is still a thing. I'm interested." And then after that, me and him were just messaging back and forth. He went and bought every single of the new starter decks. He got into casters on accident. He went to go pick up a starter decks for the new set, for the current set, and messaged me like, "I think they sent me the wrong, or gave me the wrong thing." I was like, "What they give you? Something called Caster Chronicles?" He said. I was like, "That's a good game too." But anyway, it's he's getting in,
and he's into it
super
now.
pumped. It's him and his girlfriend or wife or whatever. And so now they're both going to be playing. It's building up. It definitely is.
He hasn't played since Grim Cluster, right?
Yeah, he said Moon Priestess Returns is when he jumped out.
Oof.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
welcome back.
Yeah, I sat there and filled
Welcome
him in
back.
just giant paragraphs of text. Like, here's what you've missed out on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was cool because he accidentally bought that caster scene, and now he's into casters. And I was talking to him about starting to do a tournament theme for it. But yeah, and that was one thing. Well, one, I had mentioned that to Oscar a while back, that it felt the way that things happened with ARG, GP, not only in what was going on with what they were doing as far as formats, but the GP, but also how late the notice was for GP. It felt like they were figuring stuff out, and this year is almost like a testing phase. and where if ever, they're figuring out what works, and next year is when they sort of do this giant, almost not necessarily reboot, but like where they go into their golden age if all follows the thing is what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
But,
I think that the company is really doing a good job in that. Like, everything that I've wanted to see is happening. Like, I'm waiting to see what Jeff says. I'm waiting to see how the community responds to Jeff. I'm waiting to see how things are happening event-wise. I'm waiting to see how players' responses to events have been. I'm waiting to see whether or not, and all of these things are happening. Like, Jeff's hitting his points on Mark. The community's really responsive to Jeff. Jeff's following up in the event-wise. The events are starting to fire off with less and less problems. You know, the attendance numbers aren't there, but it's okay, right? Like, there's still events. Like, people are still going. So, like, we can still point to it. And I think that one of the biggest hurdles that we have left is almost getting rid of players' nostalgia for the old days of FAO.
Silver Age.
Right? Because I think what's happening is people are going, oh man, we used to have 300 player events. Okay, there's nothing stopping us from having 300 player events in the future. Why don't we just enjoy the events that we have and support the company so we can get there again? Like, I said this in my thoughts about Force of Will video. Like, people gotta stop just sitting back. Like, and I think that the community is starting to, like, awaken in that way, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially even something simple. I remember. We'll wrap up here in a sec here.
Sure.
I remember just. I guess it was a little bit. It wasn't short ago, but it wasn't long ago either. When there was posts in the U.S. group about like how there's hardly ever any posts in here anymore, how the game is dying because we're not seeing any posts anymore of people posting in the U.S. group about different topics. And I was just that you were talking about that. You're seeing like 3 to 5 posts a day of people just saying they're new to the game, and that made me think of like, it's getting to the point now where it's almost like how when I was in Pokemon and I was in the Pokemon group, the amount of posts I saw in there is very similar to what I'm seeing in the Force of Will US group now because of the amount of conversations people are having about decks, spoilers, all that things. We're not seeing very rarely, I feel like, especially compared to like a couple months ago, negative posts anymore. I feel like ever since somewhere mid-January, it's taken a much more active and positive turn overall. So I'm pretty optimistic going forward at this point.
Yeah. I think the toxicity. I think the community has decided that they've had enough. And I think that they're policing themselves in the right way. Because I definitely think there's a wrong way to combat trolls. You know, don't feed them. Right? You don't want to feed them. And I think for a long time the community tried to feed the trolls. Or they were feeding the trolls. And I think that the community now has realized its mistake there. And has started to ignore the trolls. And so then they don't do anything.
Pokemon's still learning that.
I mean, I think we still have a ways to go, right? But like, I think that it's a sign that we're, like you said, we're moving towards that golden age, and I am super pumped to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's when they finally nerfed Superman. All right, any closing thoughts, guys? Or
I'm good.
You good?
I think I'm good. I just want to see what comes on that ban list.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty excited. Thanks for coming on again, Jeremy.
Glad to have it. Glad to have me. Glad to have been here.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk to you again at some point.
Yeah, just make sure that next time we do it, it's a week before pre-release of the 4th set.
See you in 3 months.
See you guys then. See you in 3 months. Oh, hey, also, I just wanted to say thanks. It arrived the other day because they saw it in your vlog. It was really awesome getting to hang out with you guys in Texas.
Yeah.
You guys sent me a TCG Scrubs playmat, and that was really awesome. I appreciate it. I like the black and gold. So.
Oh yeah. We, as you guys saw on the vlog, you had given us our playmats. We have a game coming out, I think, tomorrow where I
Nice.
used it. So it's you versus TCG Scrubs in spirit because he has the TCG Scrub mat.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.